had come to see her progeny and what had become of their destiny, but she could not let her to
Al-Muhammad wa alihi Muhammad. Brothers and sisters, esteemed guests and honored participants, Assalamu alaikum. Al-Emaan Australian community welcomes you to this solemn and significant gathering as we come together to remember and honor the sacred event of Ashura. My name is Seema and I'm deeply honored and privileged to serve as your Master of Ceremonies this evening and would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you for joining us this evening. We are now day 10 into our series, and tonight we have an enlightening program that will help us all reach into the depths of our soul and transcend into new heights. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today. I'd also like to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. To begin this program, I would like to invite Brother Ahmed Asaf to the stage to perform a recitation of the Holy Quran. Please welcome him with 3 salawats. Ali Muhammad wa alihi Muhammad.
أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها المدثر قم فأنذر وربك فكبر وثيابك فطهر والرجس فاهجر ولا تمنن تستكثر ولربك فاصبر فإذا نقر في الناقور فذلك يومئذ يوم عسير على الكافرين غير يسير ذرني ومن خلقت وحيدا وجعلت له مالا ممدودا وبنين شهودا ومهدت له تمهيدا ثم يطمع أن أزيد كلا إنه كان لآياتنا عنيدا سأرهقه صعودا إنه فكر وقدر فقتل كيف قدر ثم قتل كيف قدر ثم نظر ثم عبس وبصر ثم أدبر واستكبر فقال إن هذا إلا سحر يؤثر إن هذا إلا قول البشر سأصليه سقر وما أدراك ما سقر لا تبكي ولا تذر لواحة للبشر عليها 19 وما جعلنا أصحاب النار إلا ملائكة وما جعلنا عدتهم إلا فتنة للذين كفروا ليستيقن الذين أوتوا الكتاب ويزداد الذين آمنوا إيمانا ولا يرتاب الذين أوتوا الكتاب والمؤمنين وليكون الذين في قلوبهم مرض والكافرون ماذا أراد الله بهذا مثلا كذلك يضل الله من يشاء يهدي من يشاء وما يعلم جنود ربك إلا هو وما هي إلا ذكرى للبشر كلا والقمر والليل إذ أدبر والصبح إذا أسفر إنها لإحدى الكبر نذيرا للبشر لمن شاء منكم أن يتقدم أو يتأخر كل نفس بما كسبت رهينة إلا أصحاب اليمين في جنات يتساءلون عن المجرمين ما سلككم في سقر قالوا لم نكن من المصلين ولم نكن نطعم المسكين وكنا نخوض مع الخائضين وكنا نكذب بيوم الدين حتى أتانا اليقين فما تنفعهم شفاعة الشافعين فما لهم عن التذكرة معرضين كأنهم حمر مستنفرة فرت من قسورة بل يريد كل امرئ منهم أن يؤتى صحفا منشرة كلا بل لا يخافون الآخرة كلا إنه تذكرة فمن شاء ذكره وما يذكرون إلا أن يشاء الله هو أهل التقوى وأهل المغفرة صدق الله العلي العظيم أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد.
Thank you, Brother Ahmad, for your heartfelt recitation of Surah Mudaththir. The verses of this surah reminds us of the need to be conscious of our actions and deeds at all times as we carry these with us to the afterlife. And the load we carry determines our final destination. Al-Emaan Australian community is honoured to be given the opportunity to share the universal message of Imam Hussein's martyrdom. On the screen, we have shared a breakdown of the costs that are required to make this event a reality and success. We thank all patrons for the donations made to date, and we humbly request continued support by placing money in the baskets shared through the room or by tapping your card at the information desk located at the entry. Before we begin with our main lecture, I would like to remind our guests of a few guidelines to ensure we all have an enjoyable evening. Please turn off all mobile phones and turn off your AirDrop function on iPhones. Moreover, we kindly request that you refrain from taking photographs or recording videos, as we believe in fully immersing ourselves in the essence of this sacred gathering. Toilet for males are at the entry on the right and for females are on the front on the left. Please do not speak during the lecture and remain in the hall until the Masa'ib has been recited. Tonight we commence our Q&A at the end of the lecture. Please use the QR code on the screen to post your questions as the Shaykh will endeavor to answer as many questions as he can over the coming night. And now, without further delay, I would like to introduce Shaykh Abbas Ismail to the stage. Please welcome him to the stage with 3 salawats, Ali Muhammad wa alihi Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين شفيع المذنبين رحمة للعالمين مولانا وسيدنا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرض مولانا حجة ابن الحسن عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد, respected elders, brothers and sisters, we begin with some of the questions which have been sent, and mashallah the questions are coming thick and fast, and we may not be able to get through all of them, but inshallah we'll try our best. Tonight is actually the penultimate lecture, tomorrow night being the evening of the day of Ashura will be our final lecture. We'll try to get through as many as we can, but please do send them and inshallah we'll do our best to answer them. The first question is this, and this is a question which many people have asked. How do I make my intentions pure? I do things to get reward from God when I should be doing it for the sake of God simply because He's worthy of it. This is a very good question. When we do our deeds, obviously our intention and niyyah is extremely important. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Your deeds will be judged according to your intentions. So if you pray a prayer, if you are doing your salah right now, and it's to impress someone else, that salah is not accepted because your intention of doing it is wrong. So the intention really makes your act of worship acceptable or not. Broadly, when you have a good intention, you're doing something for God. Broadly, we can put it into 3 categories. Number 1, some people do the act, they do the salah, they do whatever it is to gain the reward of God. They think, okay, if I do this, Allah will bless me, Allah will make me feel positive, Allah will grant me more, for example, income, Allah will improve my health, Allah will protect my family. So they want something from God. Number 2, some people, they worship because they want to be safe from the punishment of God. So they say, if I do this, God will save me from the fire, He won't punish me, He won't make my death and my grave difficult for me. And number 3, there are some people who are doing it just for the sake of God. That my Lord is worthy of this, therefore I'm doing it. He deserves my respect. He is worthy of my respect and I should respect Him. 3 different ways. Which of them is right and which of them is wrong? None of them are wrong. None of them are wrong. But they're not equal either. To do something for the reward of God is not wrong. If anyone comes and tells you you shouldn't do things because of the reward of God, no, it's not true. The reward of God is legitimate. Allah Himself wants us to do these things and wants us to do them for the reward. There's a hadith which says, even for the salt in your food and the laces of your shoes, pray to God. Even to that extent, pray to God. But is it the best? Is it the best one of the three? No, it's not. Because whether you like it or not, although it's legitimate and there's nothing wrong with it, there is a little bit of self in there. There's a self-interest element in there. There's still something you want from God, and therefore you're doing this. Again, it's not wrong, and no one should say that it's wrong. No one should tell you that it's wrong. But it's not the best of the three. Number two, what about escaping from the punishment of God? Again, it's not wrong. And no one should tell you it's wrong. Everyone is at a different level in their life. Some people, they look at things from the angle of, I want something. Some people will look at from the angle of, I want to be safe from the punishment of God. Tonight we are discussing a lot about this kind of angle of looking at things. The punishment of God, the threats of God, and that kind of thing. Is it wrong? No, it's fine. We want to be safe from the punishment of Allah. Number three, to do things because God is worthy of them. That is the best. That is the perfect one. That is the best one of the three. If you can elevate yourself to that extent, then good, very good. In fact, the first two are there to get you to that third stage. Allah wants, for example, that look, this servant of mine, they have a need, they have a health issue, they will pray to me because of the health issue. Then I hope that by praying to me for the health issue, they will fall in love with me and then pray to me for my own sake. So it's like He's giving you a carrot, attracting you, and then hopefully you fall in love with Him, and then you just worship Him for His sake only. But remember, they are not wrong in their own right. The third one is the best, but the first two are not wrong. Second question. If Abu Jahl was the arch enemy of the Prophet in Makkah and the early years. He was the arch enemy of the Holy Prophet. If Abu Jahl was a rude person, then why did Allah give him wealth and superiority? And it's true, Allah did give him wealth. And it's true, Allah did give him power. And Allah has given Fir'aun power and wealth. And Allah gave Namrud power and all of these tyrants today. Today there are people in the world, Allah has given them wealth and power, right? And they're doing atrocities and they're committing genocides, but Allah has given them wealth and power. So why did Allah give him wealth and power and superiority? Well, the conclusion to draw from this is that if Allah gives someone wealth and superiority, it doesn't mean that they're a good person. Wealth and superiority and power is not the criteria to judge someone. If someone has wealth and power and superiority over other people, so what? That's not a big deal. Allah gives these things to His enemies as well. These things are not the criteria to judge anyone by. You should never look at someone and say, oh, they're wealthy, so Allah loves them more. No. They have power, Allah loves them more. No. A'imma alayhimus salam, look at the lives they led. Extremely humble, extremely simple lives were led by the A'imma. So what, did not Allah love them? Of course He did. He loved them more than anyone. So power, superiority, wealth are not indicators that Allah is happy with anyone or that somehow they've been given a favor. In fact, if anything, probably in the hereafter, they will have more to account for. They will have more to account for. Because the more you have, the more hisab and accounting you have to give. Next question. Salam Maulana. On the Day of Judgment, will all humans be raised or only Muslims? No, all humans. Every single Bani Adam, every single insan, every single human being will be raised, and all the jinn as well, they will all be raised. Next question. How do we know about barzakh and life after death if we haven't passed away to experience it? You've quoted hadiths. How do we know these hadiths haven't been altered since then? There is a science behind hadith. So yeah, let me just clarify. As far as I know, no one has died and then come back and told us what has happened. There are a few throughout history who have actually died and they've come back and they have related a few things. But that's not a chapter I want to open now. That is a much longer and more detailed discussion of death which I'm working on. Inshallah, with your du'as, that will become ready at some point, and maybe we can discuss those finer details at that time. There were people actually who were actually sent back into the world. But anyway, that's not where we're getting our information from. Our information is from ahadith and Quran. Quran mentions a lot of things. I've already mentioned a few verses already. Tonight I'll mention a few more. Quran mentions lots of things about the hereafter. Lots of things about the Day of Judgment. Then on top of that we have ahadith. Ahadith or hadiths are there from ma'asumeen, infallibles, imams. If the hadith is from the imam, we can rely on it 100%. 100%. The question then is, how do we know they have not been altered? Well, we have science of hadith. We have a way of assessing a hadith. Is it altered? Is it fabricated? Is it true? Is it false? Is it strong? Is it weak? Inshallah, in these discussions, what we are quoting is inshallah strong hadiths. You don't need to worry too much about is it true or not. Inshallah, we feel confident that what we are quoting has been researched, that the ulama have agreed to it and they've presented it, and inshallah, that's how we know about the details. Fourth question and final question for the evening. Salam Shaykh, how do we know what we know about the day of Ashura? Where do all our narrations come from? How do we know they are true? So similar thing to the previous question. Our information on Ashura comes from a number of different sources. Number one, there were actually people appointed on the day of Ashura to chronicle, to record what was going on. They were actually there as observers and they wrote down what was happening. So we have literal eyewitness testimonies. I saw this, I heard that, this happened, then this man said this, then this man said that. We have actually accounts on the day of Ashura of people observing and writing it down. This is number one. Number two, the other place that we get our narrations, that we get our information from, is narrations of Ahlul Bayt. 2-3 generations later, Imam Muhammad Baqir says, on the day of Ashura this happened. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, on the day of Ashura this happened. So that fills in the gaps. And like I said, we have ways of verifying. And when we feel confident, then we narrate those things. So this is how we get our information, inshallah. I hope that's clear. Tomorrow is, of course, the day of Ashura. I pray that you all, and me included, we all put our hearts and souls into that day to grieve for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. That we dedicate the day for Imam Hussein. Try your best as much as possible to stay away from worldly things, things which waste your time, things which take you away from the remembrance of God and the remembrance of Imam Hussein. If possible, take the day off work, take the day off school, take the day off your other preoccupations that you may have. Reserve the day for azah. The things to do tomorrow are as follows. Number one, of course, as with every single day, pray all your salahs on time. Dedicate the day for your remembrance, first and foremost of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every single day we dedicate it to Allah. Secondly, as part of the dedication to Allah, mourn for Imam Hussein. Remember him as much as you can. If you remember poetry about him, bring it into your mind. If you can cry for him, cry for him. Does it have to be in a majlis? What if you're just in the car? What if you're at home? What if you're somewhere else? You haven't got the opportunity. You're not in a majlis, for example. It's okay. Cry for him throughout the day. Weep for him. Send your salams to Imam Hussein. Send your salams to Imam Hussein as much as you can throughout the day. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. As much as you can. Curse his enemies and those who killed him, those who shut the water from him, those who harassed his family, those who killed his children. Send your curses on them. Make your stand. Tell Allah, I am absolutely distancing myself from those people. I have nothing to do with them. I don't want anything to do with them. I don't want their qualities in me. I don't want their company around me. I don't stand for what they stood for. I stand for everything that Hussein stood for. I don't stand for anything that Yazid stood for. Make your stand. Show Allah. The next thing I want to say is the most important. Join yourselves tomorrow with Imam-e-Zaman. Join yourselves. Where is he tomorrow? What is he doing? You can be absolutely sure, 100%, Imam-e-Zaman tomorrow is grieving. You join him. Join yourself to Imam-e-Zaman. Join yourself. Tell him, Mawla, whatever you're doing, I'm trying my best. I'm trying to be like you. Tomorrow you are grieving, I will be grieving. Tomorrow there'll be no smile on your face. I will also try not to smile. Tomorrow you don't want to see me joking and laughing and doing silly things. I'll try my best. I won't be doing those things. Join with Imam-e-Zaman. Tell him, oh Mawla, I'm with you. Recite the ziyarat of Ashura. If you can recite it with 100 salams and 100 la'an, then do so. If you can't, okay, do as much as you can. Maybe you do 50. Maybe you do 30, maybe you do 10. It's okay, whatever you can do what you can. Recite the ziyarat of Ashura and send your salams to Imam Hussein, send your curses to his enemies. Tomorrow don't fast. People ask, should we fast? Fasting is good for almost every day of the year. Tomorrow it's not good. Tomorrow please don't fast. Why don't we fast tomorrow? Because the government of the time, the rulers of the time, the spin doctors of the time, they tried to spin the day of Ashura. What they said was, they tried to make out that, God forbid, Imam Hussein alayhi salam was in the wrong and he did a very bad thing. That's what image they tried to portray. That Imam Hussein was very wrong. He should never have rebelled against the ruler. He should never have taken arms. He should never have come to Karbala. He should never have fought. So what happened was, God defeated Imam Hussein on that day. It was a great day for the victory. It's a blessed day. It's a blessed day that we were able to kill Imam Hussein and his followers. Therefore, to make the day blessed, keep a fast. So the fasting of the day of Ashura was presented in a wrong way, completely wrong way. Yawmun tabarrakat bihi banu Umayyah. They tried to make it a day of blessing. They tried to make it a day of blessing. So they said, for example, fast on this day. It's a blessed day. It's a great day. Trying to take away the sanctity of the day. Trying to take away the emotion and the sorrow of the day. So we definitely don't want to do that. We definitely don't want to play their game and fall into that trap. So don't keep a fast tomorrow. What you can do is abstain because of the respect of the day. Also, we're not fasting, but also we don't want to eat everything and fill ourselves, yeah? It's not a day of celebration. So don't fast. Instead, what we do is we abstain from food and drink until Asr time. At Asr time, we have a small simple meal. So it's not a fast, but nor is it a day of indulgence and just eating and this kind of thing. So I hope that's clear, inshallah. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us tomorrow with Imam Zaman, that he looks at us with his du'as and we receive his supplications and his blessings, and that we join with him in the grief for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he mentions death, barzakh, hereafter, qiyamah, he mentions it in two ways. Sometimes he gives you the positive side, which is full of the blessing, the mercy, the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we have to be also aware that he mentions the painful side, the punishments, the warnings, the threats. Many people, they say, why do we have to go through these threats? Don't scare us. Don't scare us into submission. Actually, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself wants to scare us a bit. Quran wants to scare us a bit. Allah is saying to us, don't be so confident of the mercy side of things that you take advantage of the mercy. And you say, well, Allah will forgive everything. Don't be foolish like that. I'm telling you that you have to understand the consequences behind your deeds. Yes, I am the most merciful. Allah says, I am the most merciful. This is why in everything we do, what do we say at the beginning? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I begin with the name of God, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Yes. But what are we told to recite before that? A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. In other words, yes, I am merciful, but you also need to take care. I am merciful, but you also need to be careful, because you have your own issues, you have your own nafs, shaitan is there. So, when we speak about this, we're speaking from a position where Allah has taught us how to describe, because He has described it both with mercy and with warnings and threats. So we have to be aware of these things. So as I said yesterday, when people come to the Day of Judgment, people's experiences will be very different. Some people will spend ages and ages having to go through the different stages and stations. Some people will breeze through in a moment. Some people will breeze through in just, the twinkling of an eye or the space of a 2 rak'ah salah. They'll be done, they'll be gone, all of their things are done, rubber stamped into heaven, job done. This depends on what we bring from the world. This depends on our issues, our baggages, our unresolved vices and these kinds of things. Your vices block you from the recognition of God. Your sins block you from the recognition of God. So if you haven't dealt with them here, you'll have to deal with them there. Over there it's more difficult to deal with. Over here, inshallah, it is easier to deal with. The first station that we come across is the station of the perspiration of sins. So what happens is, those who are able to become pure, okay? So now we have people who are a mixture of good and bad. They have goodness, they have evil. They have good elements, they have bad elements. Some of them, their goodness will overcome their evil and they will become good. Some of them, their evil is too much and it overcomes their goodness and they become evil. At the end of the day, as we will see in this discussion, no one will remain 50-50. No one will remain 20-80. No one will remain 60-40. Either you'll have to be in one group totally or the other group totally. Either your goodness will prevail or your evil will prevail. For those who are able to become pure, Allah makes them go through an intense sweat, perspiration. The evil of their sins will come out of every pore. This will be very painful. It won't be the same for everybody, because some, as we said, don't have any impurity at all. They've asked for forgiveness, they've received Allah's grace, they have gone through barzakh in the right way, and they don't have any impurity left. So for them this station doesn't apply. But for other people, they will have to sweat out the sins that they have committed. So this is one mention of a station that we have. When that happens, when those sins are sweated out, okay, not totally, but to a large extent those sins have been sweated out, then the awareness of Allah occurs. That ma'rifatullah, that ma'rifat of God which we were meant to gain in this life, this now starts to occur to us. Finally, this man, this woman is mature enough to perceive the realities of Allah. If we don't learn it here, we'll have to learn it there. Finally, they are able to perceive the realities of Allah, and this is an elevation in each human being's perception and awareness. All of a sudden they will realize the light of the reality of God will be spreading everywhere. They will see the Day of Judgment for what it truly is. the qualities of people will start to become known and obvious. The books of deeds will start to be examined. Now these are a few more of the stations that we know of. One is the station of the opening of the books. The book which Roman in the grave had told us to write, and then he closed the book, he hung it on our neck, that book became dissolved inside us, it came into our chest. Well, that is now taken out of the chest, opened, examined, and that is all going to be opened, and the forms inside that book will now be qiyamati forms. What did you do to people? How did you treat them? Did you do oppression to anyone? Well, that oppression that you did to someone will form a qiyamati form. It could be something nasty, it could be something that bothers you, it could be something that attacks you, it could be something that harasses you. آن سخنهای چون ما رو کژدمت ما رو کژدم گردد و گیرد دمت. Farsi poetry, what we say is آن سخنهای چون ما رو کژدمت. In the world, you used to use words and used to speak to people in such a nasty way. You used to speak to people as if your words were snakes and scorpions. آن سخنهای چون ما رو کژدمت. Used to speak to people as if they were snakes and scorpions. Well, maru kajdum gardad, those same words will turn into real snakes and scorpions, and they will come after you. So whatever it is here that you have done, and it's not dealt with, you will have to face it there. Everything will assume a qiyamati form. Second, another station. This is the station of where your actions are displayed in front of God. Ya Allah. All our actions, all our deeds, everything we've done, everything we thought of, every place we have gone, every word we have said, all of these things displayed in front of Allah. Of course, they are displayed now as well, but that time we will actually feel it. That's the official kind of display in front of God. Everything will be exposed. It's going to be very difficult. There'll be a lot of shame, a lot of embarrassment. Quran says, وَلَوْ تَرَى إِذِ الْمُجْرِمُونَ نَاكِسُوا رُؤُوسِهِمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ. If only you could see the guilty hanging their heads before their Lord, and they will confess, رَبَّنَا أَبْصَرْنَا. Oh our Lord, now we see, now we hear, وَسَمِعْنَا فَارْجِعْنَا. Khudaya, send me back. My Lord, send me back. I didn't deal with my issues. Now I see and I understand. I understand what you were saying. I understand what your Lord, what your prophets were saying, what your imams were saying. Send me back. Farji'na na'amal salihan. We will do better. We're going to do more good deeds. We'll leave all these bad habits. Inna muqinun. Now we have yaqeen. Now we are sure of what you used to say. But it's too late. There's no going back. When Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba would think of this station, he would sigh and fall unconscious. That was the level of his piety, that even he, being a ma'soom, infallible, would fall unconscious at the thought of having to show his deeds to Allah, because Allah is great. Not that Imam Hassan alayhi salam had any issues or shortcomings as such, but because of the greatness of God. Some will begin to argue, some will dispute, some will deny, some will say, Khudaya, this is not mine. You've given me the wrong record. He'll be told, no, this is your record. Some people will bring excuses. Oh, but this, oh, but that, oh, but you know, this person did this. Sorry, here those excuses will not count. Here you will have to face the reality of what you have done. Some will try to take their books and hang it on another person, saying that, you know what, I want my book to be taken by this person. I don't want my record. That will not also be possible. Once all of this is done and all of these things are done and everyone is satisfied that their deeds are accurate and the book is accurate, the scroll of their deeds or the book of their deeds will be handed back. Some people will receive it in their right hand, Ashabul Yameen for example. Some people will receive it in their left hand. Some people will receive it behind their back. What all this means exactly is probably metaphorical. The right hand represents goodness. Yameen, from yumn, from blessing. That you were a person of blessing. You used to do good for other people. You used to do good for yourself. You used to do good in the way of God. So you're a blessed person. You get it in your right hand. Left hand represents, for example, the opposite. Behind the back again, someone who made life difficult for people, for example, did not perform their duties and obligations. Another station is the station of the witnesses. Because some people were liars in this world, they were habitual liars, they used to lie a lot. So Allah will sometimes bring shuhada, witnesses, that come forth and give testimony. Now this is very important. Just very briefly, who are these shuhada? Who are these witnesses? The witness of every single period of time is the insane kamil of that time. So who is your witness? Imam Zaman is our witness. Imam Zaman will be brought. Imagine, your Imam will be brought to testify. Hazrat Fatima will be brought to testify. For example, shuhada, these witnesses will be brought, testify. Will they testify in our favor? We hope so. Will they testify against us? We hope not. Then the distribution of books happens, as we have said. So what happens with the books is very interesting. As I said, on the Day of Judgment, you cannot have goodness and evil mixed. It will be a Yawmul Fasl. Yawmul Fasl means total separation of things. Things will have to be separated. Goodness cannot exist with evil on the Day of Judgment. Day of Judgment will separate goodness and evil in totality. So the book which you have, which has been now opened and presented, etc., that book which you have has a carbon copy in the, if you like, library of the Day of Judgment. There's a carbon copy of every single person's record. The good people will have their record where? Fi Illiyin. There's a place called Illiyin. Their records will exist in Illiyin. The bad will be in Sijjin. Sijjin is the place where the copies of the evil scrolls of deeds will exist. Why can't they exist in the same place? There has to be a separation. Yawmul Fasl. There has to be a separation between good and bad. Good and bad cannot exist together at the same time on the Day of Judgment. There will absolutely be a total separation. Again, we have the station of the right hand, the people of the right, the people of the left. The books with their qiyamati form will be attached to the people. And from here it is that we find the following. And this will determine what kind of next few steps we have. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya ayyuhal insan, innaka kadihun ila rabbika kadhan fa mulaqi. O man, you are laboring toward your Lord laboriously and you will encounter him, Day of Judgment. فَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ. Whoever is given his book in his right hand, فَسَوْفَ يُحَاسَبُ حِسَابًا يَسِيرًا. Will have a very easy accounting. وَيَنْقَلِبُ إِلَىٰ أَهْلِهِ مَسْرُورًا. He will go back to his people happy. وَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ وَرَاءَ ظَهْرِهِ. Whoever is given their book behind their back, فَسَوْفَ يَدْعُو ثُبُورًا. He will pray for annihilation. He will say, if only I didn't exist. وَيَسْلَى سَعِيرًا. And he will enter the blaze. The next station, the station of accounting. Everyone will appear at this station and everyone will be judged simultaneously, but it will feel like you are being judged individually. Subhanallah. Everyone will be judged simultaneously, but everyone will feel, I'm being judged individually. That is exactly what's happening in this world as well. If you think about it, in this world, Allah is taking care of everyone at the same time. Everyone, every bird in the sky, every fish in the sea, every insect in the ground, every human being, every jinn, every atom, every molecule, every smallest thing you can think of to the biggest thing you can think of, Allah is taking care of everyone at the same time. However, we all individually feel that Allah is looking at me and He's taking care of me. One of the urafa, one of the mystical people, what he says is very beautiful. He says, Allah has lots of servants, lots of creatures, but He treats every one of them and makes them feel that I'm the only servant of God. Man has only one Lord, but he treats his one Lord as if he has many lords. How do we treat Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how does He treat us? He has so many creatures, but yet we all feel Allah is mine. We have a unique communication with Him. We speak to Him. We always think His attention is on me. Of course it is, but it's on everyone else at the same time. So on the Day of Judgment, at the station of accounting, everyone will be judged simultaneously, but everyone will feel uniquely that Allah has His attention on them. This station is where an individual will assume his final form. This is now the final form. Whatever was possible to overlook and forgive is forgiven. Whatever goodness was able to overcome the evil, that goodness will be rewarded, the evil will be forgiven, overlooked, cancelled, whatever you want to say, the goodness will prevail. Whatever deeds he has that are acceptable will be accepted. All the additions and erasures are made and his final form is shaped. What is the most desperate thing we need here? What is the most urgent thing we need at this time? It is the pardon and forgiveness of God. That hope that whatever I have done, God will forgive me. That I rely on His grace, I rely on His mercy. This is why we say to Allah in a dua, very beautiful dua. Please recite this dua, memorize this dua. Oh Allah, amilni, deal with me with your mercy, not with your justice. Deal with me with your, if you put your justice on me, which is your right to do, it is His right to be just with us, then we're in trouble. Because what have we done to pay Him back? Man ke basham ke bar an khatir atir guzaram. What am I to have ever done anything for God? Why should He even pay attention to me? Lutfha mikuni. It's because of His grace and His mercy. So here we need the pardon of Allah. This is why Nabi Ibrahim says, Rabbana ghfirli wali walidayya walil mu'minina yawma yaqumul hisab. My Lord, forgive me and my parents and all of the faithful on the day when the reckoning is held. That time of hisab is where I need the mercy and forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's have a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So a believer, a mu'min, a mu'mina will leave that station full of joy because their qiyamati form has been now confirmed as a beautiful form. Their deeds have been all added up. Allah with His grace probably has multiplied their deeds manifold. All the wrongdoings have been eliminated. And because now all those evils have gone and the goodness is multiplied, he will see that actually now his form has changed. He is a much greater, more beautiful, more elegant being now because all of those evils have gone. He'll look at himself, he'll be amazed that, wow, look at me, look at what my Lord, because of His grace and His mercy, has done. Because of His essentially good nature, many of those shortcomings have gone. Many of those evils were overcome with His goodness. God's grace prevailed because His goodness allowed God's grace to prevail. However, what about the wrongdoers? For them, these stations will be very painful. They will not be forgiven because they don't have enough there to be forgiven. They don't have enough purity to be forgiven. They will go through very harsh scrutiny. There's this term we use, su'ul hisab, evil accounting. Su'ul hisab, evil accounting. Imam Sadiq was asked, what is su'ul hisab? He said it means the minute scrutiny and detailed examination of every single deed. Their evil acts are counted against them, their good acts are not accepted from them. So some people, because they've brought too much evil in them, their evil is too much, it will overcome their goodness. Their scrutiny is greater, their goodness is not accepted, their evil will overcome. So both good and evil can no longer exist in the same person. Then we have the station of mizan and scales, the measuring. Now that you have your deeds, you're essentially a good person. We have to find out what level of good person are you, what level of deeds have you brought. This will be measured in the mizan or the scales. What makes your deeds good? What makes your deeds pure? What makes your deeds heavier in the scale? Your sincerity. In one word, sincerity. Two people can be standing next to each other, both doing exactly the same thing. Both are praying salah, for example. Both are doing exactly the same thing, reciting the same surah, doing ruku, doing sajda, doing everything the same thing. One's salah will be accepted at a far greater level than the other one's. Why? Sincerity. Doing things exclusively for God, concentrating on God, dedicating to God. This is the thing that will make your deeds very, very special and very, very pure. You want your deeds to have a level of sincerity, inshallah? Try and join them with the deeds of Imam Zaman. Try and join them. How do you join your deeds with Imam Zaman? Think, what would he like to see me do? What situation does he want to see me in? What kind of prayer is he praying? Let me try to pray like that. Does he, na'udhu billah, delay his prayers? Then I shouldn't delay my prayers. Does he, for example, is he careful of, for example, issues of gender interaction? Of course he is. So I should be careful of gender interaction. Would he like to see me wearing hijab like this? I should wear the hijab that he wants me to see, that he wants to see me in. Join your deeds to him. Join as much as possible. Keep him in your mind. Keep your deeds in front of him. Say, Khudaya, I'm trying. I hope my deeds mirror the deeds of my Imam. أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِمْ وَلِقَائِهِ. Some people, when they bring their deeds on the scales, they will absolutely have nothing to weigh. They have not brought anything. Why? Sometimes we go through this thing where we do perform deeds, and they're good deeds, but because of other deeds, those previous deeds are wiped out. Those previous deeds are wiped out. It could be because of haqqun nas, the things we do to other people. It could be the things we do in front of Allah. So the Quran says, they are the ones who deny the signs of their Lord and the encounter with Him. So their works have failed, their deeds have become annulled. And on the day of judgment, فَلَا نُقِيمُ لَهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَزْنًا. There is nothing to weigh. Aslan, they don't have to even put anything on the scale because they don't have any. The scale will not apply to them. And then we have the station of Sirat. Sirat is that bridge. Now this is one of the most crucial things, inshallah. Let's discuss it with a loud salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Because of wilaya of Amirul Mu'mineen, because of love of Ahlul Bayt, because of trust in God, because of belief in God, we hope that after Mizan and after those other stations, we now have enough to proceed towards paradise. In paradise, each person has their place. Each person's place is according to their level. Paradise has immeasurable, uncountable levels. Everyone will have a space in paradise. If they qualify for paradise, they will have a space. However, for most people, the weight of their deeds is still not enough to enter and utilize the blessings of paradise. Here, Allah's method to make up for this shortcoming is the sirat, that bridge. Entry to paradise has to be as follows. All pollution has to be removed. Already we've gone through so many stations, still the human being may have some elements of pollution left. So all of that pollution will have to go. And all their virtues will have to become perfect, because paradise is perfect. You can't have someone in paradise who has still issues, whose ethics are still not right, whose virtues are still not perfected. What is sirat? As I said before, sirat is the path you chose in this world. What did you choose? How complicated did you make your life? How difficult did you make your deen? Your deen was quite simple. Islam, on a surface level, is very simple. You chose to make it difficult. You chose to complicate. You chose to make things difficult for yourself. There's a beautiful thing in Islam which makes life very easy, which makes life very simple, and which makes life very enjoyable. Should I tell you what it is? Taslim, submission. To say, oh Allah, if you tell me to do this, I'll do it. I may not understand it. I may not like it, but I will do it. Taslim. My brain is not advanced enough to understand the wisdom of God. I'm not strong enough to stand in front of God and question Him. I will choose the path of submission. Oh Allah, you're telling me something, I submit. All of the greats in the religion of Islam did this. All of the greats said, oh Allah, you tell me to do it, I'll do it. Life becomes peaceful, enjoyable, religion becomes simple. So, when we reach the sirat, that same path that we had charted in our life will become apparent. Al-Jisrul Mamdud Bain al-Jannati wan-Nar Hiya Suratul Insaniya. I don't know if that's a hadith or some ulama have said it, I'm not sure. But it's true. That bridge spanning across heaven and hell is the very nature of that human being. You made your life simple, you paid your dues, you treated people with respect, you were good to people, you performed the compulsory actions, you didn't defy God, you didn't stand in opposition to God. Bismillah, your sirat will be very, very easy. If not, then the sirat becomes complicated. Generally, people will have to stop at these different checkpoints along the sirat. These checkpoints are all along the sirat. Again, this only will apply if the person has the ability to change and to improve, to have their goodness overcome their evil. If they don't even have that chance, then their path goes straight into hellfire. For them, there's not sirat. Sirat is for those who are able to. Some people will fail and they will fall into hell. Those who were in Barzakhi paradise, for example, will very quickly be able to cross the sirat. So in fact, there will be two paths. One path will lead straight to hell, one path will lead over the sirat. For this middle group, do you remember the middle group we had discussed in Barzakh? The middle group were those people who had goodness and evil mixed. So by now, either their goodness has overcome or the evil has overcome. Now this middle group, which still maybe has some final issues to resolve, there's a narration, and I've summarized it. The narration is like this. The sirat will be thinner than a hair, sharper than a sword. Some will cross like lightning. Others will cross as if they are on a galloping horse. Others at walking pace. Others crawling. Some will cross while being suspended from it with the flames of hell around them. Everyone will take a different amount of time because everyone's life was different. Everyone's deeds were different. Everyone chose a slightly different way of life. The simpler, the cleaner your lifestyle is, you will cross the sirat very quickly. Of course, those who deserve and those who qualify for the mercy of God, He will help them. Angels will help them. Rasulullah will help. Ahlul Bayt will help. But here you have to understand one thing. Yes, Allah's mercy will help, angels will help, Ahlul Bayt will help. But the fundamental thing is, are you of that nature where your goodness will overcome your evil and accept their help? If you are not, then it's possible that they may want to help you, you will not accept their help, or you will not qualify for their help. Listen to the words of Amirul Mu'mineen. These were the famous words of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Regularly he used to say these words. He used to say, Tajahhazu rahimakumullah faqad nudiya fikum birrahil. One of my favorite sayings. He says, get ready. May Allah have mercy on you. The call for departure has been made. Get ready. May Allah have mercy on you. The call for departure has been made. لَقَدْ نُودِيَ فِيكُمْ بِالرَّحِيلِ. You're going any moment. You're going any second. You don't know. Do I have days left? Months? Years? No one knows. Even if they are months, even if they are years, we see how quickly time goes. So, Amirul Mu'mineen says, get ready. The call for departure has been made. Provide yourselves for the journey, because the call for departure has been announced. Regard your stay in the world as very short. Return to Allah with the best provision, because surely in front of you lies a valley difficult to climb, places full of fear and dangers. You have to reach them and stay in them. Know that the eyes of death are approaching you. It is as if you are already in its claws and it has struck itself against you. Difficult affairs and distressing dangers have crushed you. You should therefore cut away all the attachments of this world and assist yourselves with the provision of Allah's fear. How beautiful. All that we have said, we've taken ages explaining all of this. Amirul Mu'mineen says it in one sentence. Tajahhazu rahimakumullah. Get ready. Pack your bags. Be ready. Take your provisions. فَقَدْ نُودِيَ فِيكُمْ بِالرَّحِيلِ. The call for departure has been made. Where do all these twists on the sirat come from? Why should it be so difficult? No, this is what we made in the world. We chose to make life complicated. We chose to have our complications. We chose to not deal with things. We chose not to lead a simple life. We chose to make things overcomplicated for ourselves. One of the stations on the sirat is the wilaya of Amirul Mu'mineen. Everyone will have to stop and answer about the allegiance to Amirul Mu'mineen. Now don't think, what about those communities before Islam? Even they will have a version of this. Even they will have a version of the wilaya of Amirul Mu'mineen. Somehow everyone will be asked, how did you deal with the allegiance that you owe to Ahlul Bayt? One station on the sirat will be about Silatul Rahim. How did you deal with your family? Did you keep in contact? Did you treat them well? Did you speak to them nicely? Another station on the sirat is about amana. People's properties, people's issues, people's secrets, someone gave you something to look after. Did you look after it? Here, I need to make something very clear about amana. For your attention, let's have a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Amana is what? It can be someone's property. It can be someone's money. It can be someone's possession. They tell you, look after this. I need it after some time. I will come back to you and you give it to me. That's amana. Another amana. People's words, people's secrets. Sometimes I say, it's half a joke and it's half reality, that if you want your news to spread throughout the whole community, just tell someone, I'm going to tell you something, but please don't tell anyone. Next day it'll be spread everywhere. Why do we think that amana of people's words are not amana? Why do we think that we don't have to safeguard people's words? Why do we think when someone tells us, please keep this secret, we think, yes, I should keep it secret from everyone except for one person. I can tell one person. Then I tell that person, please don't tell anyone. And then that person says, yes, I will not tell anyone. But then they tell one person. And they think, I can tell only one more person. Please don't tell anyone. And it goes on and on and on. And before you know it, the news has spread. The whole community knows. This is also amana. When someone tells you something and says, don't tell anyone, then don't tell anyone. Does that include, for example, your spouse? Yes, it does. Someone tells you something, can I tell my wife? Can I tell my husband? No, you can't. So amana is another of the stations. Another station is salah, prayers. You'll be asked, how did you pray? Did you pray? Did you pray on time? Did you pray seriously? The truth of this path is what? It should lead to the heightened cognizance and recognition of God. Then we come across the path to hell. The path to heaven is suspended over hell. And this is exactly like the world. In the world, goodness is there. And we can go towards goodness. But it's suspended over evil things. We have to avoid the evil to get to the good. The evil will always be there. The evil will always tempt. The evil will always try to knock us off our path, but we have to be determined to walk on the path of Sirat-e Mustaqim. As I said, it'll be a day of separation, Yawmul Fasl. Now, those who have qualified and they have passed the Sirat, their light and their illumination grows and grows and grows. And their form becomes more and more beautiful because now they're getting ready to enter heaven. To enter heaven, heaven is the place of God's ultimate mercy, ultimate blessing, ultimate radiance, nur of Allah. You can't go in there unless you're also compatible with heaven. So this person has now become more and more beautiful. Other people will not have that light, that beauty. So now there'll be a lot of separation, as I said. Some people will be without light. They'll still be fumbling in the darkness. They'll still be stumbling. They will say to the people with light, were we not together? Did we not know each other in the world? We were friends. Come on, help me. We were neighbors. We used to live next to each other. We used to see each other regularly. Our God and Prophet were one. But those with light cannot do anything to help. They will reply, yes, but you deluded yourself. You exchanged certainty, which I had. I had certainty. I'm a person of light. I had certainty. You exchanged certainty for doubt. Why did you doubt so much? Why did you make your life so complicated? Your long dreams led you astray until death arrived. Why did you have all these dreams? Who told you that this world was forever? Why did you invest so much of your energy and your time and effort into this world? Why did you not think about your life hereafter? Why did you not think about the journey to come? Why did you not think that there's a sirat, there's a questioning, there's an accountability? Why did you never tell yourself that I'm doing this thing, but on the day of judgment I have to appear before God and give Him an answer? He will ask me, why did you do this? Do I have an answer ready? Why did you not think like this? So, those with light will progress. Those without light will be left behind. Those arriving at a station, some of them may just be there for a second and they are stamped and they are moved on, that go ahead, you can go, you have no issues here. Some people will have to stop, and maybe for 1,000 years they'll be there trying to justify themselves, trying to explain themselves, trying to deal with what they had brought. One of the most beautiful things on this whole journey of Qiyamah is the fact that we have our Ahlul Bayt. If Ahlul Bayt are not there, then we would be in trouble. But Alhamdulillah, all our deeds, our ziyarat, our tears for Imam Hussein alayhi salam, our visitations to Mashhad and Najaf and Karbala and Samarra, Kadhimain and Qom and Medina, all of those things that you did for Ahlul Bayt, all those devotions, all those salams and all those expressions of love you did for Ahlul Bayt will come in handy for you on the Day of Judgment. Imam Rida alayhi salam says, the one who performs my ziyarah, I'll be there for him at the most difficult times. Hazrat Fatima says, I will be there for my Shias at the most difficult times. Hazrat Fatima says, one who cries for my son Hussein, I will reward that person. A'imma, Ahlul Bayt, they will never remain in your debt. They will pay you back. They will never remain in anyone's debt. One of the amazing narrations and stories regarding just the ziyarah of Imam Rida alayhi salam. Let me share that with you. Imam Rida's ziyarat is amazing. Throughout the day, whenever you get a chance, after your salah, for example, you can just say a short salam to Imam Rida. Assalamu alayka ya gharib al-ghuraba, ya Sultan Abul Hasan, Ali ibn Musa Rida, wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That's all it is. Because Imam says that I will come to my zawar, my za'ireen, at the time when they need it most. There was a scholar, he was ashiq of Imam Rida. He was so much in love with Imam Rida. And he was in love with Mashhad. He would visit Mashhad at every opportunity in his life. In his life, he would save up what small amount of money he had and he would rush to Mashhad and perform the ziyarah. Whenever he met anyone and he would ask them, where are you from? And they would say, we're from the city of Mashhad. He would cry. His whole life was around the ziyarah of Imam Rida. Every time he would finish one ziyarah, he would tell Imam Rida, he would say, Mawla, I'm coming back. Call me again. I'm coming back. This is not my final one. Every ziyarah he finished, he would make a promise to Imam Rida that I'm coming back. In this way, they say he did 59 ziyarat of Imam Rida in his life. 59. In person in Mashhad. On his 59th, they say that before he could say to Imam Rida, Oh Mawla, I'm coming back, Imam Rida alayhi salam came to him and said, next time you don't come to see me, I will come to see you. So he, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So he realized that my death is near. And he realized that I'm not coming back physically anymore to Mashhad. When he died, he appeared in the dream. Some ulama, they have this deal with one another. They say that whichever one of us dies first comes into the dream of the other and reports. And we tell each other what happened and what we saw. So he died. And he comes into the dream of his colleague, his friend. And his friend says to him, what did you see? What happened? He says, look, many things happened, but I'll just tell you one thing. After everything, all the burial was done, after all of the people had left the graveyard, I was alone, I was lonely. 2 angels entered my grave and they began to question me. And I got so intimidated and worried. I felt so much under pressure. They began to question me. All of a sudden, I heard a voice from far away saying, leave him, leave him, leave him. And this voice was getting closer and closer, and he kept on saying, leave him. And when he came close, he said, leave him, he is one of mine. The angels, they bowed and they left. So he said to me, you're okay now, don't worry, they won't come back to you, there's nothing to worry about. So I said to him, okay, thank you, but who are you? Who are you at this stage? When I'm lonely and alone, you come and with your respect, the angels go away. He says, I'll just tell you this. That was my first visitation to you. Remember, he had done 59. So this person said, that was my first visitation to you. I owe you another 58 visitations. You did 59 of mine, I'll pay you back. You do one thing for A'immah alayhimus salam, they'll pay you back. You do one thing for Hazrat Zahra, she'll pay you back. You do one thing for Amirul Mu'mineen, he'll pay you back. Manifold, hundredfold, millionfold. There's no end of their generosity. Throughout the day, as much as you can, send your salutations on Ahlul Bayt. Send your salams to Imam Zaman. Send your salams to all of the A'immah. Recite the great ziyarat that we have. Ziyarat Aminullah is a very special one. Ziyarat Ale Yasin is specifically for the 12th Imam. Ziyarat Jami'a Kabira, little bit longer ziyarah. I have a course on Ziyarat Jami'a Kabira which is ongoing. Anyone who is interested, it's free of charge, there's nothing expected of you. It's on YouTube as well, it's a weekly course. Inshallah, we'll continue once I go back. If you're interested, please let me know. We can sign you up to the WhatsApp groups. The WhatsApp groups also don't have any forwards. You won't get any Jummah Mubarak messages, nothing like that. It's just purely important things. Inshallah, attend those. You'll see how we prove the merits of Ahlul Bayt, how we prove the attributes and the merits of our Imams. Anything you do for A'immah alayhimus salam will come back to you manifold. Tonight is the night of Ashura. Tonight is the night where so many things were happening in the camp of Abu Abdullah. It is a night of sorrow. It is a night of grief. It is a night for recitations, for lamentations. They say that Shaykh Abbas Qummi, which you must have heard the name, he's the compiler of Mafatihul Jinan, a great scholar. He had a son called Shaykh Ali. Shaykh Ali was a reciter, and it was his honor to be a reciter for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And really, for all of those who recite for Imam Hussein, it is our honor to recite for Imam Hussein. For 20 years, he was a reciter for Imam Hussein, lecturer, reciter of Masa'ib and Musiba, reciter of Noha, Marthiya, poetry. One time he finds that he has a pain in his throat. He goes to the doctor. The doctor says, you have some kind of cancer. He says, is there any way I can be cured? Doctor says, yes, you can be cured. I will cure you, but I need you to do something for me. You have to stop all recitations and stop even speaking as much as you can. Don't exercise your vocal cords. Even if you have to write down what you need, almost like someone who cannot speak totally. Write down what you need, but don't use your vocal cords, I will cure you. He said, how long do I have to do this? He said, 20 months. 1.5 years and a bit more. 20 months, don't do this, I will guarantee that I'll cure you. For 4 months, he doesn't use his vocal cords. For 4 months, he doesn't speak. Everything is written when he needs to communicate. After 4 months, what happens? The month of Muharram comes. The month of Muharram comes. He begins to lament. He begins to cry. He says, oh Allah, my tawfiq has gone. It was my honor to recite for Imam Hussein. My tawfiq has gone. First night he cries, second night he cries, third night he cries. Fourth night, he goes to sleep, he sees a dream. In his dream, his father comes, Shaykh Abbas Qummi, the great Shaykh Abbas Qummi. Shaykh Abbas Qummi comes and says, my son, you see that room over there? In that room, there are two personalities. One is Rasulullah, one is Abu Abdullah. And they have sent me to request you to recite the Musibah of Abu Abdullah. He says, Baba, but I can't. The doctor has told me I need to recover, and I'm not allowed to use my vocal cords. I'm not allowed to use my voice. The father says, but they have requested. He says, Baba, I can't. I've taken like this decision that I'm not going to use my vocal cords. So the father takes him into that room. Rasulullah himself now requests Shaykh Ali to recite the musibah of Abu Abdullah. He says, Ya Rasulullah, your request, I have to obey, but my voice is not good, my throat is hurting, I have a cancer. Rasulullah says, we will give you shifa, we will cure you. Why are you worrying? We will cure you. So he says, in that case, what should I recite? Rasulullah says, recite about Ruqayya bint al-Husayn. Recite about the young daughter of Hussein. He says, I began to recite. I recited one line. I recited that in the prison where the head of Imam Hussein was given to Hazrat Ruqayya, his daughter, that she said to the head, Baba, father, my cheeks were very small, but the hands of the enemies were very big when they hit me. And when I recited that line, Abu Abdullah fell down, remembering his daughter, remembering the musibah. I woke up from that dream and I had been cured. My throat was cured and I was able to recite again. The musibah, the azar, the grief of Imam Hussein alayhi salam is a miracle. Is a miracle. It will cure you. It will cure your illnesses. It will cure your bodily illnesses. It will cure your spiritual illnesses, inshallah. It is our honor to recite on this night. The situation of the tents of Imam Hussein was something amazing. The situation was like this. On that night, you would have thought people were worried because the next day they were going for their martyrdom. They were going to be killed the next day. You may have thought they will be worried. They'll be depressed. The atmosphere would be gloomy. Totally opposite. The atmosphere was one of energy, was one of happiness. Habib was laughing on this night. He was happy. These are the true lovers of Allah, that they are going to sacrifice themselves for the sake of Abu Abdullah. Muslim ibn Awsaja stands and gives a speech. He says, if I am killed and I am burned and I am torn apart and my pieces are scattered all around, and then I'm put back to life, and it happens again and again and again, I would still give my life for you, O Abu Abdullah. This is just one death I have to face tomorrow. Then I have an eternity of honor and dignity in the eyes of Allah. Habib gives a speech. Zuhair gives a speech. All of the ashab, they give a speech. They reaffirm their loyalty to Abu Abdullah. The mothers and wives are rejoicing that they will have the honor of giving their tribute to Hazrat Fatima. That night, they say, the atmosphere was one of worship and ibadah. People said when we listened to the noises coming from the tents of Imam Hussein, we heard the noise like the buzzing of bees, because everyone was engaged in dhikr of Allah, remembrance of Allah, worship of Allah. On that day before the day of Ashura, they say that Shimr, the accursed, brings a letter from Ibn Ziyad. This letter is given to Umar Sa'd. Umar Sa'd opens the letter. What does he see? Ibn Ziyad gives him the order. He says, I hear, it's been a number of days now, you have Hussein in your grasp, but still nothing is happening. I order you, either you take allegiance from him or you begin the war. If you don't want to do this, I will replace you with Shimr. Ibn Ziyad now knows he has to, Umar Sa'd knows now he has to move things forward. He sends a force, small force. He says, go and speak to your cousin. He says to Shimr, go and speak to your cousin Abul Fadl al-Abbas. Hazrat Abbas actually was related to Shimr. From his mother's side, Hazrat Abbas was related to Shimr. So Shimr comes and says to Hazrat Abbas and his brothers, he says, we are family. We are family. Here, take this. It is a pardon. I have negotiated a pardon for you. If you leave Imam Hussein, you come over to our side, you'll be safe. Nothing will happen to you. I protect you. Hazrat Abbas says to him, you think you can give me protection? You think you can take me away from my Mawla? You think you can take me away from my Imam? This is the day I was born for. This is the day I was raised for. Abbas alayhi salam draws a line in the sand and says, you step over this line and we have a problem. They say, in that case, take the message to Imam Hussein, tell him, either he gives us allegiance now or the war begins. Hazrat Abbas goes to Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein tells him, allegiance cannot be given under any circumstance. Allegiance is out of the question. But tell them to allow us one more night. Tomorrow they can start the war. Mawla, why do you want one more night? Look at the words of Imam Hussein. I want one more night because inni uhibbus salah. I love prayer. I want to spend this last night in prayer. Wa tilawatal Quran, and I want to recite the Quran. Mawla, you asked for one night for prayer and Quran. The message is given back. They agree. They say, okay, the 10th is tomorrow, we begin on the 10th. That night was a night of ibadah. That night was a night of worship. That night was the night of reaffirming the pledge of allegiance. They say at one point Imam Hussein had gathered everyone. He had turned off all the lights, all the candles. The room was made to be dark, and he says, I remove my allegiance from you all. You're free to go. If you don't want to be here, don't be here. These people, they want my blood. They don't want your blood. They want me. They don't want you. They said, Mawla, what kind of choice is this? We would never leave you. They reaffirmed their pledge. They reaffirmed their allegiance. They made their speeches. They said, even if this was to happen to us 70 times, 1,000 times, even if we are burned and we are torn to shreds, and then it happens again to us and we are made alive, and we are burned and torn to shreds and killed, even if it happens again and again and again, we will not leave you. Imam Hussein then makes some statements. He says, I've never seen companions more loyal than you. The Holy Prophet did not have such companions. Amirul Mu'mineen was not fortunate enough to have such companions. Imam Hassan did not have such companions. Abu Abdullah had companions like this. How is the message of Imam Hussein alive till today? How do you all and we all have a pain in our hearts towards Abu Abdullah? Because of the purity of those companions and linking themselves to Imam Hussein. They linked with Abu Abdullah. They joined with him. Look at the power of when you join with the Imam of your time. When you submit to the Wali of your time, Waliullah al-A'zam of your time. This is the power. They all reaffirm. They all pledge allegiance. The next day, the day of Ashura. As the day begins, first of all, the ashab, the companions, they say, no Bani Hashim will go until we go. They all sacrificed themselves first. Then came the turn of the Bani Hashim, one by one. Ali Akbar is killed. Qasim is killed. Aun and Muhammad are killed. All of those shuhada are killed. Finally, Hazrat Abbas and Imam Hussein are there. Abbas is killed. Imam Hussein alayhi salam is now alone. He stands up. His back is broken. He cries out, Al-An in kasarat dhahri. Now that Abbas has gone, my back has broken. He has no one. He looks around. Where is Akbar? He's gone. Where is Qasim? He has gone. Where is Habib? Habib has gone. Where is Muslim? Muslim ibn Awsaja has gone. Where are all these heroes of mine? They are gone. Who is with me? No one. Who is there to support me? No one is left. Who will protect my ladies after me? No one is there. He stands alone on the plains of Karbala. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, who from the morning of this day has been busy back and forth lifting the bodies from the battlefield, taking them back to the tents, giving condolences to the ladies, consoling the ladies, giving them support, going back again, fetching another body, bringing it back, grieving over them, mourning over them. Now he stands alone. The gharib of Zahra stands alone. The lonely one of Zahra stands alone. Madhloom stands alone. Atshan stands alone. Gharib stands alone on the plains of Ashura. He then makes a call. Hal min nasirin yansuruna. Is there anyone to help us? Is there anyone to help us? There is no one, but all of a sudden a commotion is going on in the tents behind him. All of a sudden the ladies call him. They say, come. When he enters into the tent, Rabab, the wife of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, Zainab, the sister of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, they say that since you made the call of Hal min Nasir, this baby, this 6-month-old baby, has not had any peace. He's writhing. Imam looks at the baby. He picks up the baby. The baby was 6 months old. In some cultures we call him Abdullah Radhi. In some cultures we call him Aliyun al-Asghar, the youngest Ali, the baby of the family. He takes Aliyun al-Asghar in his arms. Aliyun al-Asghar is thirsty. Aliyun al-Asghar is hungry. Aliyun al-Asghar has not had his mother's milk because the mother's milk is now dried because the water is not there for her to produce milk. He takes Aliyun al-Asghar. He walks into the battlefield. He stands in front of the army of Umar Sa'd. He says to them, look, some of you are fathers. You have babies of your own. If you have a problem with anyone, it's with me. Surely it's not with my 6-month-old. Surely my 6-month-old is innocent. He has not done anything to anyone. I am willing to put him on the ground. I will walk away. Come and at least give him some drops of water. We don't have any water. You've cut off the water from us. As he's making this speech, the fathers and those with a little bit of softness in their hearts in the army of Umar Sa'd, they begin to cry that what are we doing? We're punishing a child. We're killing a child. A child is dying of thirst. A child is thirsty. All of a sudden, people's hearts in the army of Umar ibn Sa'd, they begin to waver. Umar Sa'd senses that this could be dangerous. People could feel sympathy. He calls Hurmala. Hurmala was the best of the archers of that army. He says, Hurmala, iqta kalam al-Hussein. Stop the speech of Hussein. Do what you need to do. Stop the kalam of Imam Hussein. Hurmala. He takes an arrow. What kind of arrow does he take? There were different type of arrows. There was one which had 3 heads, 3 sharp heads. They were used for the largest of animals. When you want to kill an animal, you use that kind of arrow. He took that arrow. He aims it towards Aba Abdullah. But he aims it towards the baby in the arms of Aba Abdullah. They say in some narrations that Hurmala, as he begins to draw the arrow back, 3 times he has to stop. They asked him afterwards, he was asked, why did it take you 3 times? You kept on drawing the arrow, but then you dropped the arrow. You drew the arrow, but then you dropped the arrow. He says, every time I drew the arrow, there was a lady in the background. Every time I drew the arrow, she fell to the floor. I felt this must be the mother of Aliyun al-Asghar. Therefore, I dropped the arrow as well. Umar ibn Sa'd comes again and says, Hurmala, what is going on? I've told you, cut off the words of Hussein. He then takes the aim. Aba Abdullah is in mid-speech. Aba Abdullah is still speaking. All of a sudden, Aba Abdullah feels a sharp pain in his arm. And he sees all of a sudden there is blood pouring on the floor. As he looks down, what does he see? The throat of Aliyun al-Asghar has been pierced by the arrow. Min al-udhun ila al-udhun. From one ear to the other ear. And this really cut off the words of Aba Abdullah. Imam Hussein was left speechless. Imam Hussein could not believe what they had done. He looks at his baby. baby. He says to his baby, this is your sacrifice. When he now goes back into the tent, when he presents the baby to Rabab, the mother of Ali al-Asghar, what does she say? She says, Amithluka yunhar, even your age, your young age of person is being sacrificed today. They go and they bury Ali al-Asghar in the sands of Karbala. They use the sword of Imam Hussein to dig the grave. The grave is dug. Ali al-Asghar is placed. They bury the young baby in the sands. What did they water the sands with? They must have watered with their own tears. They must have cried upon that grave so much that the grave was watered by their tears. This, of course, was all done and was recorded in the famous poem of Abu Abdullah. They say that on the evening of Ashura, the daughter of Imam Hussein, she heard a poem recited by the head of Imam Hussein, where he says, Laytakum fi yawmi Ashura jami'an tanzuruni. If only you had been there on the day of Ashura, you would have seen me. Kayfa astasqi litifli fa abaw an yarhamuni. How I asked them for water for my child, but they refused to give me any water. ألا لعنة الله القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Let us welcome our brother for poetry with your loudest and sincerest salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله وعلى آلك المظلومين يا غريب الغادرية السلام على الشيب الخذيب السلام على الرأس القتيل السلام عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. Inshallah, we will recite the Maqtal of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, as tomorrow we have no program during the day. After losing his family, after losing his companions, after having no one left to fight on his behalf, Abu Abdullah would call in his loudest voice, هل من داب يذب عن حرم رسول الله? Is there anyone to defend the sanctity of Rasulullah? Imam Zain al-Abidin would then stand leaning on a cane and dragging his sword. Hussein would ask Zainab, can't find him. so the lineage of Ali Muhammad stays. He would then be returned to the tent. The women and the children would be silent. He would give his final farewells to the women and the children. He was wearing a long robe and holding the sword of Rasulullah. He would wear his armor, prepare his sword, then he would ask for a piece of clothing. Why would he ask for a piece of clothing? He asked for something specific, a piece of clothing that no one would want to take, because after they were martyred, they would take everything from them. He would then bid farewell to his Ali al-Asghar, who would become martyred. He would then dig the grave for Ali al-Asghar. He would bury him in the sand. Then he would kill anyone that would approach him. He would go down to the battlefield. He would charge into the east of the army, calling Ana al-Husayn ibn Ali. عليت أن لا أنثني أحمي عيالة أبي أمضي على دين النبي. I am the son of, I am Hussein, the scion of Ali. I have decided that I will never bow. I will protect my father's family, remaining on the Prophet's path. One of the enemies would say, never have I seen someone surrounded by a huge number of enemies whose son is slaughtered, and so are his family and companions, and yet he stayed composed. He remained relentless. Men kept fleeing from in front of him as he would approach them. Omar ibn Sa'd would then shout, this is the scion of the contentious one. This is the son of the killer of the Arabs. Attack him from all directions. Then Shimr would ask Hussein, what are you asking from me? Hussein would say, I am the one who is fighting you, and my women have no accountability, so keep your robes away from them. قال اقصدوني بنفسي واتركوا حرمي قد حان حيني وقد لاحت لوائحه. Imam Hussein would say, face me, not my women. For Shimr would say, we will grant you that. He would continuously fight. The battle will intensify, and so would his thirst. He would break to the Furat. His horse would go down. He would put water into his hand. Imam Hussein would say to his horse, you are thirsty and I am thirsty, yet I will not drink before you. The horse would raise its head as if he understood Abu Abdullah's words. Then when Imam al-Hussein picked up a handful of the water, a man would call out, do you enjoy water while your haram has been attacked? He would throw the water and rush to the tents to find out that they were lying to him. He then would bid farewell to his family a second time. He would turn and say to them, Asta'addu lil-bala, prepare yourselves for the tragedy. For Umar ibn Sa'd would call, woe upon you, attack him, since he is disturbed, distracted, and surrounded by his women. For they would approach him and attack him with the arrows until the tent got showered in arrows. Some of the women were wounded. Then some of the men would enter the tent, intending to see what Abu Abdullah would do. Imam Hussein would attack so courageously. He then would kill anyone he could catch. While he was being showered by the arrows, he would continuously call, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah al-ali al-azim. He would ask water, for Shimr would say to him, you shall not taste water until you reach the fire of the hell. Then Abu al-Hutum would shoot an arrow into the forehead of Abu Abdullah and say, Imam Hussein would say, oh Allah, you see what position I am in. Kill them and do not leave them on this earth. Imam Hussein would then say, by Allah, I hope that Allah will grant me the honor of martyrdom. Imam Hussein would become tired. He would stand to rest. Then a man would throw the stone at his forehead. Blood will run down his face. He would then wipe the blood on his face. And at this moment, a man would prepare his arrow with a 3-point arrow. And he would shoot it at the chest of Abu Abdullah. He would call Bismillah wa billah wa ala millati Rasulillah. He would then take the arrow out of his back. The blood would gush. He would fill his hand with blood. He would throw it into the sky, saying, Hawan ma nazala bi annahu bi'ayn Allah. Not a single drop of the blood would fall down. He then would wipe the blood on his face, on his beard. He would say, this is how I will meet my Lord. This is how I will meet Rasulullah. Then I should say, oh grandfather, Fulan and Fulan have done this to me. He then would sit on the floor. Then a man by the name of Malik ibn Nasr would approach him and strike him on his head. Rahim Allah man nada wa Husayna wa Ghariba. The nephew of Abu Abdullah would come down and see him in this state. Abdullah ibn Hassan, who would become martyr on top of his body. After this, Imam Hussein would be laying on the ground as if they were all relying on each other to finish him. Wawela, Shimr would call, what are you waiting for? What do you expect from a man who is injured on the floor so badly? Then a man would come and strike him on his left shoulder with a sword. A man would shoot his mouth with an arrow. Another man would strike him on his shoulder. Hilal ibn Nafel says, I was standing in front of Hussein as he was taking his last breath. Never did I see anyone who looked better than him or more glowing on his face as he was stained in his own blood. Then he would ask for water. Then they would refuse to give him the water. A man would say, you shall not taste water until you reach the hellfire, in which you will drink boiling water. Hussein would say, is it me that will reach it? Rather, Rasulullah will be waiting for me, and I will complain about your crimes that befell against me. They became very angry. The Imam would do his dua, his final dua. Then the horse of Abu Abdullah would circle around him, rubbing his head in the blood of Abu Abdullah. Umar ibn Sa'd would say, the horse, that's the horse of Rasulullah. Go and get the horse. They would try and grab the horse, but it would kick many of the enemies. Umar ibn Sa'd would then say, leave him to see what he does. He would go to the body of Abu Abdullah and rub his head in the blood. Imam Bakr says that the horse would begin to utter the words, the oppression from the ummah that murdered the son's prophet, the son of the prophet. It would turn to the tents. This is from the words of Imam Muhammad al-Baqir. When the women saw the horse come back with its saddle flipped, they began to beat their faces, screaming and wailing as they would attend the murder side. فواحدة تحنو عليه تضم وأخرى عليه بالرداء تذلل وأخرى تقبله وأخرى تقبله. What would Zainab say? I saw the murderer running to the murder side, so I ran and tried to stop him. Zainab would call, Wa Muhammada wa Abataya wa Aliya wa Jafara wa Hamzataya. He is your Hussein laying on the plains of Karbala. I wish the heavens had fallen upon the earth. He would then turn to Umar ibn Sa'd and say, Oh Umar, should Abu Abdullah be killed as you watch? He would then turn as the tears flow down his face. She would say, Woe upon you, is there not a Muslim amongst you? No one would answer. Then Umar ibn Sa'd would call for his soldiers to put him to rest. Then Shayek would approach the body of Abu Abdullah sitting on his chest. ومحمدا وحسينا وعليا وفاطمة Shimmer would sit on the chairs of Abba Abdullah. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Allahumma kun li waliyika الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليك يا صاحب الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجن. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وجعلنا من خير أعوانك وأنصارك والمستشهدين بين يديك ورحمة الله وبركاته. إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة تسبقها بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
Thank you, Brother Ahmed, for the tradition of the Messiah. Just a reminder that there will be no program here during the day tomorrow. However, we will be having a lecture tomorrow night, commencing at 7 p.m. We look forward to seeing you. This marks the conclusion for our program this evening, and we would like to thank our dear guests for gracing us with your presence for this sad and auspicious event. We encourage you all to take some refreshments in the memory of the departed soul of Abi Abdullah on your way out, and we wish you all a safe journey home. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.